You know, history isn't just something we leave in the past. Sometimes it surges right back into our present, and it does so with an absolute vengeance. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating phenomenon that's kind of just hiding in plain sight within our digital landscape. We're looking at how 7th century Islamic history, specifically the deeply emotional narrative surrounding the tragedy of Karbala, is capturing these massive, highly engaged modern audiences. We're going to see exactly how these centuries-old stories are packaged, searched, and consumed today. All right, let's dive right into this. Well, to understand the hook, we really have to look at the title. Just imagine you're scrolling through your feed and suddenly you get hit with this intense, dramatic hook. Shimmer, or Yazid ka Ibrat nak Anjam, Karbala ka Badla Kaysiliya. That translates roughly to the terrible end of Shim and Yazid and how the revenge of Karbala was taken. It's cinematic, right? It's incredibly intense, and it's perfectly designed to tap straight into a deep-seated human desire for justice. What's absolutely crucial here is that specific phrase, Ibrat nak Anjam. It means a cautionary or terrible end. You see, the creators aren't just presenting a dry textbook timeline of 7th century dates and locations. Instead, they're framing the history around this thematic focus on ultimate justice. They're basically promising the viewer that they're going to get to see the grim, inevitable fates that awaited historical oppressors. It's a narrative structure that guarantees closure. And honestly, in our unpredictable digital age, the promise of historical justice, it's an incredibly powerful hook. And the video description builds on this beautiful, often another really dramatic reinforcement of the theme. It reads with this intense urgency, Yani ki shimar ka kya anjam hua, aur Yazid ka anjam kya hua, which meaning what was the fate of Shimmer and what was the fate of Yazid. It explicitly calls out the antagonist by name. It's creating a very clear expectation here. If you watch this, you will find out exactly how those who stood against Imam Hussain met their end. It's historical accountability delivered straight to your speakers. So let's focus in on the aftermath of Karbala. This interest actually builds a thematic progression right inside the digital algorithm itself. Based on the suggested videos, we can map out this chronological, highly emotional quest for the viewer. It's like a digital breadcrumb trail. It starts with the primary event, the tragedy of Karbala. Then the algorithm suggests content focused on the revenge, often highlighting the historical figure of Mukhtar Saqafi. And finally, it leads viewers to videos focused on the fate, the specific deaths of antagonists like Shimmer and Ibn Ziyad. The algorithm is literally guiding viewers through a structured journey from grief to retribution and finally, ultimate closure. The really interesting point here is how the metadata divides this historical interest into two very distinct psychological appeals. On one side, we see videos capitalizing on the dark end of oppressors. These are your cautionary tales, focusing on figures like Yazid, Shimmer, and Ibn Ziyad. Then, on the other side, we have the quest for retribution, focusing heavily on Mukhtar al-Thaqafi's intiqam, or revenge. Content creators are optimizing their titles to cater to both sides of this coin, the satisfaction of seeing the wicked punished and the pure inspiration of seeing the righteous seek justice. Other channels are jumping on this exact same strategy too. Listen to this title from a channel aptly named Eternal Karbala. Karbala ki baad Yazid ka kya hua? The dark end of Yazid. That translates to what happened to Yazid after Karbala. That single video pulled in 119,000 views in just 10 days. The phrasing there, the dark end, is an indication of love. It's telling you a story before you hear it play. We can actually see the exact narrative steps viewers are clicking through to satisfy this need for historical accountability. Step 1 is revisiting the tragedy itself. Step 2 introduces an element of historical mystery. For instance, there's a highly watched video titled Imam Hussain fi Namaze Janaza Kisne Parhai, which translates to Who Led the Funeral Prayer of Imam Hussain. That video is sitting at 285,000 views. And finally, step 3 is the retribution, exploring the ultimate fate of the killers. It's basically a 3-act structure playing out across dozens of different YouTube channels. And the data totally backs this up. Searching for specific 7th century historical figures drives distinct high-volume engagement today. When a video focuses on Shimmer and his anjam, or death, it reliably pulls in between 70,000 and 149,000 views. Ibn Ziyad and his end pulls in about 77,000. But look at what happens when the focus shifts to the protagonist of the revenge narrative, Mukhtar Saqafi and his intiqam. The view count jumps to an incredible 241,000. The audience is actively rewarding content that focuses on the active pursuit of historical justice. All of this has created a genuinely thriving digital niche. Because we aren't just talking about a few lucky viral videos capitalizing on a specific event. This is a highly structured, totally sustainable digital ecosystem. That channel we started with, Islamic, boasts 274,000 subscribers. Over 250,000 people have actively decided they want this specific type of historical deep dive delivered to their feed on a regular basis. This represents a dedicated, recurring audience hungry for knowledge, structure, and compelling narrative delivery. They aren't looking for quick 15-second entertainment clips. They're sitting down for 20, 30, even 50-minute historical lectures. And the content creators, they know exactly how to broaden that historical lens to keep this audience engaged. Once viewers are hooked on the narratives of Karbala, the channel introduces them to other deep-cut mysteries and tales of ultimate victory. They've got a video on the untold secrets of Hazrat Kiza with 96,000 views. The story of Asad bin Bakia, the man who defeated time and distance, pulling in 140,000 views. And a massive 58-minute epic on Hyber Kamarga, the historical victory of Hyber, sitting at almost 400,000 views. They are successfully turning everyday digital scrollers into dedicated students of history. Which leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. We've seen the data, we've analyzed the totals, and we've tracked the algorithm's path from tragedy all the way to retribution. But as you look at the sheer scale of this digital ecosystem, ask yourself, why do these centuries-old quests for justice still captivate millions of us today? Maybe it's because in a modern world that so often feels chaotic and unresolved, the digital retelling of history offers us exactly what we crave, a narrative where eventually every single action is accounted for and ultimate justice is undeniably served. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.